The original intent was that we would own the park when it was paid off. The city has changed that tune quite a bit over the years.
The city has paid nothing for this piece of property. The residents have paid for everything. Initially, our name was supposed to be on the title. Somewhere in the paperwork, it got lost and the city took title.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all having a great and wonderful day. Well, we're going to be talking about California, because California is full of communists. This has been known now because obviously anything that's happening in California is just not great. And what we're going to be talking about, the Pacific place in California, is Novato, which is not to be confused with Nevada, because that's not what it is. It's Novato, California, close to San Francisco. So there we have it. That's what we have. Now, the whole story is that these senior citizens, paint a picture for you, these senior citizens, they bought a home. They needed essentially like a co-signer or what have you to go buy a home. They went to go clarify it, what have you. And, you know, it's all a done deal. You're able to make this mortgage. You're able to make this money. You know you have this X amount of money to purchase this said home, this said park, etc. All thing is a done deal. Co-signer was good. We're all happy. Said, great job. All right, shift to 20 years later, and then all of a sudden, your city says that even though you've been paying the money for about 20 or so years, we're going to make you pay an extra $26 million because we're a bunch of scumbags. Here, we're going to explain onto why this is, because apparently, if you're paying for your home, you signed it, and there might be a slight error or what have you within the contract that was involved. Well, there was a small error within this contract. We can solve this. This is not a big deal. Well, okay. Here's your home because you've been paying for this money. The city hasn't been doing it. These people have been paying for their homes for the past 20 or so years. Here's the money. Here's the home. You've done this already. Well, that's not what this city did. This is not what California did. Instead, these corrupt communists, these corrupt individuals, pretty much said, no, you don't own this home. We own this home, and you're going to be forced to pay an extra $26 million. Otherwise, we're going to seize this said home, and we're going to own it, and we're going to do what we want with it. That's essentially what happened in Novato, California here, because these senior citizens were pretty much robbed or what we have scammed of their homes, which is insane. It's like, how else could you possibly do this? Like, this is only something that you could possibly find happening in California. Like, no other state that you could probably imagine would even do this. But, of course, in the great California, it happens. And now these senior citizens are fighting for their homes, fighting for their livelihoods, fighting for the place that they've been here because they've put in $20 million for 20 years, and this is the result.
Street, just about everything indicates the Marin Valley Mobile Country Club to be private property, but it's not. The 319-unit mobile home complex is officially owned by the city of Novato. When the residents tried to buy the land in 1997, somehow the city, which co-signed the loan, ended up as the only name on the documents.
Okay, so what we have here is just the fact of the senior citizens looking to purchase this property. And what it is that there was some type of accident or accident or what have you within the document that removed these people from the document for owning these homes. Now, to the senior citizens, to these people, they had the thought process of, when you're putting in $20 million over the course of 20 or so years, that you would eventually own the home, that you would eventually own the property that you've been putting money in for the past 20 years. But to the city, that's not what actually happened, because they think that because it's a lie. And so instead of the city actually wanting to fix the error, they're going to still force these senior citizens, force these people to pay an extra $26 million just so that because it was an accidental error. That's what's going on here. So this is insanity.
For more than 20 years, Gloria Gilbert's monthly payment has gone toward buying property for the city.
Was it your understanding that the people here were going to eventually own this property?
Yes. And I was involved in the effort back in the late 90s, early 2000s to get the city to sell the park to us, and they refused to do it.
City staff says they can find no documents that show the property would transfer to the residents, while at the same time admitting that the city has paid nothing to acquire the land.
So there you have it right there. You have it to where these owners, these residents, were under the presumption of wanting to own the actual park. As they were putting in money over the course of 20 or so years, putting $20 million down, and that was their presumption that they were going to actually own the land, own the park of what they had. And unfortunately, that is not what the city says, because even the city says, like, we found, it is important to know that the city no city general funds were used to acquire MV or MCC bond, and loan debt service payments have been paid by revenues generated from the mobile home space retains within the park. So obviously, we know that the city didn't put any money into this, and that's what we have here. Now, if people are wondering, well, they should have read the fine print, et cetera, with the contract. Well, let me tell you, my dear viewer, my fool, is that you have to understand this. This is not exactly how contract law necessarily works here. So, in order for a contract law to be valid, you need to offer a closed proposal by one party, acceptance to the offer's agreement to the offer's terms of the other party, consideration, something of value exchange. So, for example, say for instance, I want you to redesign or repaint my entire car. Well, I have to give you money for doing that within the contract, because there has to be some type of exchange done. Like, for example, I want my car to be repainted. They need money, so I had to pay them in order for them to get the exchange. So that is within the contract. There has to be some type of exchange or value exchange done here. Both parties intend to be legally bound. The contract's purpose must be legal, and parties must have the ability to contract. So, like, no minors, etc., being there. So that wasn't the case, because none of these people were minors 20 years ago. And the contracts can be written in oral, etc., but that doesn't really matter. A contract is enforceable if it meets the above element and applies with state law. Now, obviously, this is going to vary wildly between state law, etc., but this is the case may be. So, and then it says courts interpret contracts based on their plain language, etc., etc. But here's the thing. There's a reason why this could be very well considered extortion. This can also be a huge violation because, again, this would be considered a breach of contract. A breach occurs when one party fails to fulfill their obligations, i.e., like the city demands $26 million, and it's not specified in the contract, which they're demanding an extra $26 million, which we'll find out later within this video. And then the remedies, which if they are breaking the contract, which means they would get their monetary compensation, which means for losses caused by the breach. So any money anything that they did, well, they'll get their money back. Forcing the party to fulfill the contract in real estate, and then recession, will cancel the contract and restore the parties to their contract state. So therefore, that means the judge would essentially cancel the contract, and the party will still be able to essentially get their money back, and still what have you. Like the contract is then considered void, or the contract is grossly unfair or one-sided, and it may be void. So therefore, the contract is completely voided, and then what have you. If one party was forced into the contract, like for example, them demanding extra $6 million, it would be coercive in this case. So again, I don't see how a judge would look at this contract and be like, this is correct, this is how this should be done, because the city is massively breaching their contract. They're demanding more money, even though they paid already $20 million within the contract. That's insanity here. So that's what you guys should know. So them saying that, like, oh, okay, well, they should suck it up. No, the city broke the contract. They can't do this. And there has to be something of value exchanged. And if there is no exchange of value, say, for instance, the people are not getting the homes or the park that they agreed upon which is the actual value exchange, then the contract has been broken by the city. So I don't know what else to tell people.
On Tuesday night, the residents took their frustrations to the city council.
Residents have paid for everything since 1997, including close to 18 million in loans and bonds and interests, with the understanding that the land would ultimately be ours in 2027.
We recognize that we need to be responsible for our own future and not rely on a handshake agreement. We cannot rely on the city to keep our best interests as a priority.
The issue was not on the council's agenda, so they could only sit and listen. But they did talk about it at a meeting 2 years earlier when the residents were again trying to negotiate a purchase from the city. At the meeting, Councilmember Pat Eklund, who was mayor at the time of the original sale in 1997, suggested that they consider transferring ownership to the park residents.
Transferring ownership, that just, I can't agree with that. From a legal standpoint, I think that could be considered a gift of public funds. I can't imagine how the rest of the community would feel if we transferred ownership.
Yeah, so what we have here is that we have a, well, first we'll go off with the former mayor, Pat Eklund, which pretty much goes out to say that, like, okay, well, we should still give the park to these people. They still pay for it, and within the actual contract rules, this would be allowed. This would be probably the best course of action because it's within the contract rules and you would not be violating the contract. However, you have Scumbag McGee, of course, absolute worst person, Susan Warnick, disagreeing with that. Going so far as to hire an actual spokesperson to actually do this type of thing. So she goes out and pretty much says that, like, oh, well, it's a gift of public funds. But even Pat Eklund says that, like, it can't be a public funds because nobody gifted money to this. They actually put money to actually own something. That wasn't like a donation process, and this is the reason why I cannot stand these people. Again, you have another psychopathic woman that does not understand law and is trying to abuse this. This is insane here. This is absolutely insane. She gets no actual benefit of this, and she's also the former mayor, so she's not like an actual benefit, so she does this. This is absolutely wild behavior. There's a person that I hate right now, and the real person that I hate is Susan Warnick. This person is vile. This person is disgusting. This is what we call communists in the making here. She has no problem with violating the contract, using her power to steal homes essentially from elderly people and own it herself. She has no problems with doing this. And that is the most disgusting part in all this. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And not only that, she should be sued into oblivion. The city should be sued into oblivion because this is a huge violation of the contract and them actually trying to steal homes for their own benefit. And I'm not going to lie to you. You will now find out that they are the ones that are trying to, even though the people are going to want to do it, they want extra money. They want extra $26 million for this.
There's no gift of public funds because not a penny of public funds has been put into the ownership of Marin Valley.
Nevertheless, the park residents have accepted the situation and are working to buy the property for a second time, this time offering the city $20 million. But the city has refused. Their appraisal lists the value of the property at $26 million, and they say they will not accept less than that.
Can you honestly say that this is good faith negotiations? So much work went into putting that proposal for your consideration.
Take the $20 million. Everyone wins. Have the attorneys paper it up, and you can get back to city business.
Now, this is what I'm talking about. They want more money. They want $26 million more for this. And that's asinine. They want essentially the people to pay 2 times. So at this point, it would be around $46 million to pay for this stupid city. No, it's like, you guys shouldn't even have to do this. You should not have to pay twice. That's asinine here. They are extorting you. They are abusing their power. They're using it so where they could just get more money. This is asinine here. This is stupid. No, you should not lay down and do this. This is insanity in every regard. And the fact that they're trying to do this is insane. So And even still, these people, these lovely elderly people, are like, all right, we'll chill. We're just gonna go and pay it again just to own the park, even though these people will most likely not be alive in the next 20 or so years. 20 or so years, so they would die on their graves by trying to own this, to pay this again. That's what I'm talking about. This city wants them to pay an extra $26 million, and they want the city to pay it twice. They want the people to pay it twice. This is asinine here. This is absolutely insane.
It seems like the residents have every reason to be angry, but instead of shouting, they ended the meeting with a song.
We were promised when the loan was paid, the park would be our own. Marin Valley, that's our home. That's our home. Thank you.
The residents are afraid that the city could sell the park to a private operator, potentially driving up rents. So they have now upped their offer to $23.5 million, which the city is set to discuss in closed session on September.
Yeah, and the residents are rightfully to be scared because that's exactly what California is going to do. Remember, when we go back to the Gavin Newsom situation, we end up finding out that the city wanted to buy up the property that these people had and then make it into Section 8 housing, which that's exactly what this garbage government will do. They'll buy up the houses and then they'll sell it for Section 8 housing or whatever, increasing the prices and kicking people essentially out of their homes. This is wild behavior. This is insane. This is the reason why you should just not live in California, because you have communists like this, people like this, that are just wildly just going to go out and ruin people's lives. Anything that you own in California is subject to forfeit because the people there, the politicians, everybody are just looking to just take what you own every single time. It is without doubt. I'm not really surprised that this is happening in California, but again, it's still astounding that it is happening, and it shouldn't ever happen. Just stay away from California, because obviously the state does not care about anybody but themselves. The politicians are beyond corrupt. I mean, obviously, if you already have one section of California, which is close to San Francisco, looking to just take people's homes, scam a whole bunch of residents, what else do you think they're going to do? This is insane here, by the way. This is wild behavior. Give these people their homes back. Let these people own their homes and let them do it. They'll probably most likely make this park better than what you would do anyways with it in the first place. You would take the park, run it into the ground, and it'd be an absolute crap hole owned by the city, which obviously you have no problem with being corrupted in the first place. This is wild behavior. I cannot believe this is happening at all. It's crazy. But here we are. All right, guys. That's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share. As always, take care, my friends.